Hi, we're here at First United Methodist Church with Lana Hansen. And Lana is the one who's volunteered and directed a wonderful ministry for the homeless called Many Helping Hands. And Lana, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
I want you to tell me the story that happened when you thanked a cop at one time in your life. Can you tell us about that?
I can. There was one night I was sick and tired of living the way I was living, and I actually cried out to God from my heart for the first time. I didn't want to live that way anymore. An hour later, I was arrested, and I thanked the cop because I told him God sent him, and that's where my journey began.
And you'd already had a really good life in lots of ways. You'd had a home and a family and a good job at Sprint. What happened?
I just got lost and started using drugs, and when I got laid off from Sprint, I just went into a desperation. Can't describe. So I was homeless. I got laid off from Sprint, and I was homeless for about 5 years.
You say homeless, what did you do? What kind of places did you?
I lived in my car until I lost my car. I lived on people's couches. Motels, yeah. I didn't know from day to day where I'd be staying.
You'd lost your home.
Mm-hmm.
You lost your possessions.
Right.
You even lost your daughter for a while.
Yeah.
Your young elementary age daughter. You had to go with.
I sent her to her dad's. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a turning point. There was a transition. How did this happen?
Well, once I was arrested, I got put into a program, and I was living in a transitional house, and that house introduced me to church, and that's where I got saved. At that church, there was a ministry that was coming to that church, a busload of busing homeless into the church for church service called Soul Ministries, and I was interested in that, so I went to meet with them on the parking lot. They have an outside church service in downtown Dallas. So I went down there, and the minute I walked in the parking lot, God spoke to me for the first time, telling me that's what I was going to do. I was going to do homeless ministry. At that time, I didn't know what he meant. I thought that's what I was going to do, was that ministry, but that's where my journey began for the homeless.
What was your physical situation that time? You were barely getting by. You mentioned you were what size dress?
Yeah. So when I got arrested, I was a size 3. Before I got saved, I'll say it that way. I was a size 3 skeleton. You could look into my eyes, and it was black. There was like no soul. I was just existing. I was just so desperate. I didn't want to live, but I didn't want to die. I was just existing. And
so people at this ministry gave you hope.
Yes.
They started looking at you differently.
When I walked on that parking lot, and I saw the homeless in the same place I had been, not too, I was maybe a couple of months into my recovery when that first walked in the parking lot, and I knew that I was supposed to do that. And the way that that ministry shows love is by hugging. Jesus squeezes. So I started just loving on the homeless down there, and was able to relate to them. Just gave them that. I would tell my story whenever I could tell it to them, that I too was, once homeless, and God was working on my life. So
something miraculous happened when you were working. You got a job at a restaurant as waiting tables, but then you met somebody that led you to open a door that transitioned your life. Tell us about that.
Yes. So I was working at a restaurant. I was finally getting my self-esteem back from being homeless. I had no self-esteem and didn't think I was capable of working. I had held a good job at Sprint previously to all this, my story. So I was working, and someone from Sprint came in, and I told him I had been praying about getting back on at Sprint. She had said there's two supervisor positions open right then, which is very unusual for Sprint because most of the people's tenure is like 20 years. So I applied, and it happened to be somebody I used to work with, and that person had actually saw my sister a month before and asked how I was doing, so she knew about my recovery. And so I got my job back at Sprint, which is all part of God's story, God's glory, bringing my past and my present together, for His glory.
Lana, you mentioned that Sprint did something even more spectacular. They did something called bridging. Explain what that means.
Yes, so when I went back, I had 16 years with Sprint, and they bridged my time when I was gone. For those 6 years I was gone from Sprint. So now this year I have 25 years.
It's amazing. And then you wanted to keep giving back to help people that were homeless, that were on the streets. And you got involved in some things, and you started working, continued with soul ministry near downtown Dallas, but then you came, since Sprint is in Irving, you started doing some more work in Irving, and you got involved in a church in Irving.
That's
right?
correct, yes. So when I moved to Irving because of my job, I was introduced to Hope Fellowship Church, and that church is just a come-as-you-are kind of church. They knew that I was, on Sunday morning, I would wear my soul shirt because I go to soul at 6:30 in the morning until second service and come to church. And so they knew about my homeless ministry at Soul, and they allowed me to use the bus, their van, to go down and bring homeless people from downtown back to Irving for church. During that time frame, I was also outreaching to people walking around in the downtown area, around here.
Irving.
Yeah, right downtown Irving, and inviting them to church as well. And we would always feed after second service. So that's how the ministry kind of started. My pastor said, well, Lana, you know there's homeless in Irving, so we really needed to kind of focus on Irving. And I kept telling him, after I get married, I didn't exactly know where to start. We did reach out to some churches to see if they wanted to help. We didn't know what the vision was at the time, but just help with the homeless. And we had an event that we gave out clothes and items for winter. That was an event. We partnered with the church, Good Shepherd. So that was we just did one event, and that's all we did. And then right around my wedding, we had Salvation Army reach out to our church and said, did you know that they didn't have any food for the homeless on Thursdays in Irving? And that's kind of how Thursday Night Feed started.
Fantastic. And then, so you started that, it was around 2012, and then after a while, the church was kind of outgrowing its facility. You barely had room for even the food to be distributed, and then you guys were moving out of your one location to move to a new location, and there's no longer a presence in downtown Irving. And then something happened with First United Methodist Church. What happened here?
Yes. So that's why I know it's God's perfect plan, because He used the praise and worship leader would practice. They would practice on Thursday nights when we were doing Thursday Night Feed, and she just happened to mention to one of her customers about our homeless ministry on Thursdays in Irving. And he said, well, one of my very good friends, Pastor Floyd, Russell Floyd, from First Methodist, has a heart for the homeless. So let me, introduce you. So we exchanged phone numbers, and I reached out to Russell Floyd, and we met. We had our first initial meeting, and that was probably the end of May, I believe.
2014.
2014.
And after that led to a vision on behalf of the people here. And so they were studying and praying for opportunities to serve, and you brought that opportunity to them.
Yes, and so the meeting went very well, and I had mentioned that we would be moving out of our downtown location because our church was growing and we were losing our lease. So we had met and talked about that, and the opportunity came the week we're moving out is when I got the phone call that we could move over to this location.
So that's been over about 14 months ago now.
Yes.
And from this time forward, you've been meeting every Thursday night. About how many people come on Thursday nights for Thursday night?
We serve an average probably of 45. We've got 9 churches that are in the schedule. We serve every other month. We've got a couple other churches that have recently joined us. We have not missed a Thursday. Thanksgiving, it doesn't matter. We always are here Thursday. So we partner. The thing I love about our ministry is it's all denominations that come together just in Christ's name to serve. And it's a well-oiled wheel.
You start to see the difference between the people who are coming for the meal and those who are coming to bring the food. The difference starts to blur.
Yes. When we first started, each church only had a few volunteers, and it seems to be growing. The interest is growing. The love is growing within the churches. So there's several opportunities, like 15, 20 people will show up, and they'll be mentoring now with our clients. Our clients are growing, and they're talking about God, and they're smiling, and we have somebody doing haircuts, and we're just, just loving on them. And it's just really, really blossomed.
What do you see as your hopes for the future of the Many Helping Hands ministry in Irving?
We have a committee that we meet every month, and our vision is a day resource center. So because there's no services in Irving for them to take showers, do their laundry, and that's the two basic needs that everyone has. To have self-esteem, you want to be clean and have clean clothes. So that's our next step is identify a building and make it available for them for a day resource center. I would love to see that center grow into mentorship and people being assigned a mentor and actually being able to work together to find out what their basic needs are, prayers are, what they're looking for, maybe helping them get a job, whatever that is, their license, that type of thing.
Larry James has written a book called The Wealth of the Poor. And in the book he talks about how when we connect with people that are in poverty, we gain amazing connections and things. Tell us how the Circle of Prayer developed, and you shaped the city this summer, the city of Irving, well beyond just the homeless people, but how the homeless people became partners with you in making a difference.
The thing that's wonderful is because of Many Helping Hands, I just see the power of God working with all the denominations together, and with everything going on in America, with all the crime and the hate against the police. I was in Bible study and God gave me a vision to circle the police station to pray for the police. Not just the police, for the building, because that's where my journey started, was at that Irving police station. So I mentioned it to my pastor and a couple people at our Bible study, and God just took off with the idea, and we got the city involved, and 3 days later we were marching in the parade, the 4th of July parade, passing out flyers, and had t-shirts made that said Circle of Prayer. And we probably had, at the event, we planned it in 3.5 weeks. We had probably almost 500 people, 480 I think was the count. We had the city council, the mayor, and all denominations that came together and held hands and prayed for our police and fire. It was an amazing event. It just shows how God is working on the people of Irving. God is working on the hearts of people of Irving, that we can join together and do something for the city.
And you're planning a special event on Saturday, October the 10th, an opportunity for the community to come together and really help the homeless. Tell us about, what's it called, the Soup Fundraiser.
Yeah, this will be our 2nd annual Soup Fundraiser. The concept behind it is soup and bread for the homeless. And we hold it, well, last year we held it, and this year as well, at Christ Church on 183. And we're hoping to raise enough money to start our building fund, to have a building fund for our vision, and to sustain us through the year, the rest of the year, into next year. Basically, we have everybody bring pots of soup, and we have salad and bread, and we have door prizes, silent auction items, that type of thing, fundraiser. And we sell the tickets for $10 a ticket, so that way we can raise money.
If somebody wants to donate to that, is there a way they could contact you, or a website or something? What would be the best way to reach you?
Absolutely. Our website is manyhelpinghands.org, and there's a link on there that you can email me directly or my phone number. And we would love to have any type of donations that we could get, whether it's monetary, things for our auction, our silent auction, door prizes, that type of thing.
And also, you told me you could use some very practical things that people that are on the streets need, like you said, bug sprays. They want to donate bug spray, right?
We need bug spray pretty much all year round, but mostly in the summer we need sunscreen. We give out socks every week. Basic hygiene we give out every week. And we also, we give out clothes and things like that. When the winter comes up, we'll need blankets and all those type of things to keep them warm.
Thank you for doing it. Hands and feet of Jesus.
Thank you.